is a new episode of the WION Sports Broadband edition with me, Digvijay Singhdeo, and I'm joined by one of India's most successful sportspersons. Gagan Narang, Olympic medalist, joins me from Hyderabad, where it all began for him all those years back. Gagan, how have you been? I think this enforced break has probably seen you spend more time at home than across your 20-year shooting career.
Well, yes, it's been a blessing in disguise, I would say. But yeah, personally, I mean, having home cooked food for so long was something that I missed over the past few years, and I'm happy that I'm able to spend time at home with mom and dad. I mean, I've been traveling all over the place in the last 23 years of my sporting career, but never been at home for so long. So it's quite refreshing and recharging for me.
No, but when you say home-cooked food, I've been told by reliable sources that you're actually also in the kitchen. You're the one who's also cooking up a feast.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to do at home. So, sometimes you tend to. I mean, my first international trip, I think, was in 2004. Before the Olympic Games in Athens, and I had gone to Hungary for 45 days. And 45 days, I was pretty bored eating hotel food. So I finally found the kitchen and started cooking myself. And of course, at those times, we used to just take a rice cooker so we could cook rice and stuff, and then try and improvise and cook other stuff in the cooker as well. So yeah, it's been there over a long period of time because you tend to kind of adapt to the situation and have new hobbies. So yeah, we've been spending a lot of time training abroad, staying out for months together training. So yeah, sometimes you definitely tend to crave home food and you kind of cook yourself. So yeah, it's over a period of time it's evolved.
Yes, but for you, Gagan, because you're staying with your elderly parents, you've actually had to exercise much more caution. So what is it? Is like, even stuff like essentials and all of that. How are you maintaining, careful? How are you being careful with all these deliveries of essentials and all?
Well, yes. I mean, I've been called out for a lot of relief work of late. I have gone to a few of them as well. But yeah, I mean, every time I went out of the house, I would quarantine myself for at least 5 days or so that to just kind of prevent the infection from spreading or so on and so forth if I was kind of exposed to the virus. But yeah, I mean, it's all been good. Parents, yeah, at home handling elderly parents is a task because every day is different and every day has new challenges. But it's been a very humbling experience for me to stay with them, to see them. I mean, my parents also kind of not used to me being at home. So one fine day, what happened? My dad, I was in the room and I had just gone out for some work, and dad came and switched on the lights at home, and I'm like, Dad, hello, I'm at home. So he's like, oh yeah, we forgot you're still at home. So that was a weird situation at home. So, I mean, they're also getting used to me being at home for so long, and so am I.
But, the life of an international shooter is usually one of self-isolation. You shooters also usually prefer solitude. So while the rest of the world's probably going mad in the situation of being locked at home and not having much to do, some would say that for the shooters across the world, they're at home.
Well, yes. I mean, I would say that our sport is the mostly indoor, especially the 10-meter air rifle event, if you talk about. And, we spend long hours training, even at home when the ranges are closed or when we go out for competition and so on. In fact, just to tell you that, I've been cleaning my gun a while ago, and, it's been a while since I've cleaned my gun. It's been a month. So today was the overhauling day of all the guns.
Yes. But Gagan, the problem for you is not just personal, it's also professional as well, because you've sort of, while your shooting career has been going on, you've also branched off into coaching. You have a lot of academies around India in which you are grooming talent. One of your shooters is world number one, Alavinal Valariban. I'll get to her a bit later. But you are having a lot of problems sustaining those academies. I've even heard that you've had to dip into your personal savings, your PF account, just to pay salaries to your staff all across India.
Well, yes, it's been a tough situation because we're not for profit academy and we are into broad bracing the sport at grassroots level. But I mean, so far yes, we've dug into our reserves, but nevertheless, I think when the situation demands and when there are lives at stake, we can't do much but follow the rules and do a civic duty of staying indoors and shutting all our academies. And we've sent all our staff back home, and whoever's I mean, we requested people who we pay rent to kind of defer the rents and so on and so forth. So measures are being taken, and we will do whatever is possible to sustain these families of coaches and whatever it takes, definitely.
One of the flip sides of shooting having so many Olympic medalists, started with Rathore, then Abhinav Bindra, you, Vijay Kumar, was that they've seen this mushrooming of shooting academies all over. There's a lot of more attention on shooting in the country. And because of that, even the government's involved, a lot of these Khelo India academies to keep sport at the grassroots running. Do you think it's time for the sports ministry and step in and actually sort of financially help these academies, because it's the base level, it's where a lot of our young shooters are coming. There's 14, 15-year-olds coming through the system are coming from those academies. If they shut down, we're looking at a big problem.
Well, Digvijay, we must understand the country is going through a big crisis, and sport, unfortunately, is not a necessity at the moment. I think it will still be some time when we will be able to get back to our sporting selves and choose sport. So it's still some time away. But having said that, I think the sport will definitely take a hit, because when the lockdown's over and everything hopefully gets close to normal, people will be busy sorting their lives out. People will be busy getting back what they've lost. That sport will probably not be on their mind. And during that time, we will have to figure out ways and means of kind of helping such academies who are contributing towards the sporting ecosystem.
Okay, since you branched off towards sport, it's time to get you in on the pressing issue, because you've been to 4 Olympics. You know the various pressures and the various tensions within an athlete when they approach an Olympics. You've seen the other side of it when you won an Olympic medal. We have 15 shooters in this country at the moment who've qualified for the Olympic Games. Barring a few of them, most of them are first-timers. What is your advice to a lot of these first-timers? Because suddenly their entire life has gone upside down.
Well, I think that the training schedule of these shooters was very well planned by their coaches, and there is a lot of knowledge in the system now. Earlier, we would struggle with lack of knowledge, but now we have too much of knowledge. So we are struggling with the right and the wrong kind of knowledge. So I think with the mentors, and they are on a good path, and I'm sure that they have figured out ways and means of keeping themselves busy, keeping themselves active during the situation. Digvijay, the best quality of a sportsman is, he's a very, very positive individual, because you go through so many hardships in your career that you just naturally become very positive, because haar manna koi bhi nahi seekhta. Nobody learns how to lose. Everybody wants to win, and you can only win when you stay on the positive side of things. So an athlete in itself is a very positive individual and never gives up.
No, but hang on. There's a difference here. The difference is that your generation, when y'all came up, and I've seen you shoot in Hyderabad, I've seen you shoot in ranges which were barely functional, y'all struggled, and that has sort of toughened you all up. This present generation has only seen success. They've had the best of facilities. That's a bit of concern for me as well, because the natural process of evolution in Indian shooting toughened up the likes of Rajyavardhan Rathore, Suma Shirur, Jaspal Rana, Abhinav Bindra, Gagan Narang, Samresh Jung, all of you champions from that generation. What we are seeing with this generation today is the feeding of your success and this pathway which has been created. How does someone who's sitting at home may have access to an electronic target? They can't just shoot. How do you ensure that they stay top of the game, that their skills stay perfect, their mental faculties stay perfect?
Well, of course, there's no substitute to the real thing. But having said that, I think there are a lot of ways and means that shooters today take to, for example, visualization. We've had visualization classes, we've had SCAT training live sessions, we've had shooting live sessions, and so on and so forth. So if not 100%, at least they are in the game at least 80%. So that is something better than zero. So having said that, these kids don't have a backlog. They don't have excess baggage of who they were in the past. They only have a benchmark that we've set for them over the period of years, and they have to build on from here. So they don't know fear. They don't know what pressure is all about. They just want to go out there and give their best. And participation is not enough. Winning a bronze medal is not enough because those are the benchmarks. Winning one gold medal in the Olympics is not enough. They want to win multiple Olympic medals, multiple Olympic gold medals. So I think when they go out there and perform, I'm sure that most of them are not just looking for a performance or a participation in the Olympics, which 2 Olympics back or 3 Olympics back we were struggling to in the sport of shooting. But they are going to be competing for medals.
Okay, but this is, say, some shooters are blessed or fortunate because the events, like the one you won your Olympic medal in, the 10-meter air rifle, that allows you to have an electronic target at home and shoot. What about people like, say, the skid boys, Bajwa and Mehraj Ahmed Khan, or the 50-meter ones in Tomar and Sanjeev Rajput or Tejaswini Sawant? For them, you need a fully functional outdoor range. This is going to be a problem for adaptability for these shooters as well. Don't you think so, that they don't have access to a proper shooting range?
Yes, it will be a cause of concern because especially in skeet events and especially skeet event, the shotgun events are the worst hit because they don't have equipment to do dry fire with, but at least in rifle and pistol we have the scat trainer or a shooting simulator that they can use to kind of hone their skills. Every session that we do, even when we're on the range, we use the scat. So using the scat at home is the same thing as using it on the range. So not so much for the 50-meter events, but for the shotgun events, it's definitely going to be a cause of concern. And I hope that they get back to the ranges as soon as possible.
There are a lot of these feasibility studies going on right now, started by the government, started by your federation, as to how to get sport back on track. There's talk of this quarantine camps, but the important thing right now is that all your shooters are scattered all over the country, and perhaps getting them out of their homes or wherever they are into a quarantine camp is also going to be a problem. What is the solution you would suggest right now, considering where the shooters are?
Well, I would personally feel that collecting all the shooters at one place would be a logistical challenge and also a greater risk. I would suggest that the shooters train where they are training under whoever they're training with and continue to kind of be in their safe environment because everyone has isolated themselves and trying to be safe. So that should at least continue. And ways and means of giving them ammunition or giving them access to a closer shooting range alone by themselves or with the coaches or with the people concerned would be an ideal approach. But having said that, I'm sure that the administrators of the sport are more than capable to take the right decisions in the interest of the sport.
Okay, a few sports persons I have spoken to over the course of this series have told me, and these are international as well, that perhaps mentally you should write off this entire few months period and think of it as the off season. Now it's easy to say and it's difficult to execute, but there's bound to be anxiety, there's bound to be performance anxiety. There's also, Gagan, bound to be the anxiety of retaining your Olympic quotas. That's something which we shouldn't ignore, that this is a different sort of pressure on the Olympic team or the presumptive Olympic team.
Well, Digvijay, you must know that you've been covering sport for a very long time. We have no off season in the sport of shooting. We always have shooting. So from that perspective, I think it would be a welcome break for all these shooters who would be able to do what they've never done before, or the hobbies that they have missed, or things that they have missed doing. So from that perspective, I'm sure a lot of these people have occupied themselves in various things. But yes, they do have a responsibility. They must be wondering what's going to happen about the selection, what's going to happen about the quotas, how the year is going to be, how many competitions are we going to have next year, how do we prepare, how do we plan our peak, and so on and so forth. So we would only know that once the international calendar is out, so that the domestic calendar can be made, and then the preparation will start from there on.
Yes, but I was speaking to Manavjit Sandhu a few days back, and he was saying that he doesn't sort of see the international calendar resuming this season. What you then perhaps need is a very strong domestic calendar. Now, shotgun in India may not have the best of competition, but especially in the rifle and pistol events, Gagan, the bench strength is phenomenal. I mean, it's as good as competing. Nationals today is probably as the top 7 or 8 shooters can push each other. Is that the way forward, considering we don't know where the international calendar is going to be, that the NRAI or the Indian Federation needs to schedule these domestic competitions, have a domestic circuit going so that our athletes retain that feel of competition?
See, Digvijay, what we must also understand is that when we talk about shooters, the definition of shooters for you and me could be different. It could be just the people going to the Olympic team, or it could be shooters, the bench strength behind. So as far as the people going for the Olympics and a few others who have the capability to shoot that score is concerned, I think having a competition structure only for these 20, 30 or top 10 or top 5 in each event is possible. But having a competitions for the entire lot, wherein everybody from different state who's done the MQS might be a big challenge, because there's a lot of people and they're not. I mean, it's practically not possible to accommodate them for any competition. So having said that, when I say that we could have a domestic competition calendar, I think or I imagine that it would be feasible to conduct and keeping that competitive edge between the top 5 or top 10 people, but that is only when life becomes normal. And when you say normal, it would be the new normal, because social distancing, how would we take our flights, what would happen, how many people are um, being infected or the herd. I mean, what's going to happen is totally uncertain at the moment. So having said that, I mean, the best thing that we can do is train where we are at the moment and continue what we are doing in whatever circumstances we are and make the best out of it and stay positive.
Now you say that we have to make the best of the circumstances. You're also a mentor, as I mentioned. You are mentoring the next generation of Indian champions. One of them, Elavanil Valarivan, is the world number one. Won the season-ending 2019 World Cup Finals as well. Something you did way back in 2008. She's on the cusp of perhaps breaking into the Olympic team. What are you advising her, Gagan? What are you talking to her? What are you talking to young people like this and telling them, how to negotiate this bump in the road to the Olympics?
Well, Digvijay, we must understand that uh, qualifying for the Olympics is just one step, but from there on the journey is totally different. And when I say different, it doesn't mean that you need to do something drastically different. You just need to be yourself. What happened earlier was, oh, we've qualified for the Olympics, now give everything that you need. Today's generation has everything that they want even before they qualify for the Olympics. So there's a huge paradigm shift between the approach that we will have for these kids going into you don't need to do anything different at all. You just need to be what you are and have that as a normal lifestyle, a normal routine of training or spending time with family. And ultimately, we're all human beings, and the human aspect has never should never be ignored. So, allowing you spending time at home, which you never got to spend over a period of so many years. She's taking care of her mom and dad. We have a SCAT given to her, so she's training on SCATs. We keep having our Zoom calls on and off, keep sending SCAT reports to us and so on, and just basically fine tune whatever little niggles and aches and pains that she had. So she has a physical training session of her own. So not just Elavanil, but Shreya Agarwal also in Jabalpur is following a routine like that, and so are many other athletes from different academies, in fact.
Okay, but when you talk about this trying to tinker and trying to rest the niggles and all, this also gives you a great opportunity of perhaps changing equipment. Usually when the Olympics approach, people sort of back off. I'm not changing anything till the Olympics are over, and that perhaps at times leads to disastrous results. Perhaps you stuck with that rifle a bit too long or something of that sort. It's more technical than for this broadcast. Is this giving you an opportunity to change things for people like Elavanil, that you have this extended break now where half the world isn't shooting? This is the time to catch up and do the right things, which now this break sort of allows you to do.
Well, in a few events, yes, that's possible. But if you speak specifically about Ella, then I think changing equipment, especially the one that she's using, is not practical when we are so far away. So it's better when you have more better communication one-on-one, that it is possible to change. So right now, I think I would stick to what she's doing, and maybe once the lockdown is over, maybe fly to Ahmedabad or maybe fly to our training center somewhere and then kind of figure out how to fix that. But to answer your question, yes, we need specific times that the equipment needs to be changed, and because of our competition calendar and our competition schedule, we get very little time to kind of adapt to new equipment or new technologies that are there across the world. So yeah, we have to manage that very carefully in our schedule.
Okay, Gagan, with the Olympics getting postponed, there used to be a set way to approach the Olympic Games. Do you think all that is now out of the window? That the way you trained once you won the quota, the mental approach to the Olympics, that's all out of the window. What we're now going to see is a journey into the unknown, especially because we don't know when the competitions are going to start again. Will we have competition even till 2 or 3 months ahead of the Olympic Games? Do you think this is going to be like that Formula One last qualifying session where it's a dash to the line, the last 10 minutes, 10 cars all dashing to the line? Do you think it's going to, perhaps it's shaping up to be a bit like that heading into Tokyo 2021?
Well, if I put myself in the situation, I mean, I wouldn't change anything, personally speaking, because the whole aura of the Olympic Games in itself is enough to kind of get you shivering and kind of get you serious about the whole situation. But having said that, I think it would be very immature to kind of not think about the Olympics or write off the Olympics, because the situation at the moment is very different. So I wouldn't say that these shooters are this whole situation is going to take the sheen of the Olympic Games, because ultimately it comes once in 4 years, and that in itself is a big um, uh, uh, puts a lot of pressure on these people. Just think, but avoiding the whole situation that okay, it's some time away is also not correct, because you have long term goals and you have short term goals, and your long term goal is to go out there and perform, and your short term goal is how to get your technique right, how to fix your physical aches and pains, how to get your mental perspective right, how to be able to handle finals better, and so on and so forth. So the key would be to just focus on these short term goals for now, and planning towards and having the long-term goal in your head and not completely forget about it or ignore it.
No, but just, with the hindsight of experience, Gagan, lots of white I can see up on the hair and the beard. So you've spent a lifetime in sport and at the elite level as well. What should be the new approach? I know you say that, yeah, you won't want to change a thing, but suppose we are in January or February and we still don't have a shooting calendar, then how do you adapt?
Well, I'm sure that situation is not going to come. We will have a shooting calendar as soon as possible, and especially once the lockdowns are off across the world. A lot of shooting ranges in Europe and in Switzerland have already opened, and a lot of shooters are training in them, and a lot of shooters are participating in these competitions which are being held online. So from that perspective, I feel that I mean, it's not going to change much. But again, when you think about the approach, a lot of shooters have pressed the reset button on their clocks and are doing what they were doing 1 year before the Olympics. So the key would be to just follow their plan until 2020, which they would follow for 2021 now. So that would be the ideal situation. Ideally, all the competition that was scheduled could be scheduled at the same time, so on and so forth, so that a shooter's training plan is kept intact and they can plan the way they planned for 2020 in 2021.
Okay. Just a short while back, you actually turned around and showed that you were cleaning your gun. Now, how has this break sort of refreshed Gagan Narang, the shooter? Because you won the full set of, I call it the Grand Slam, the full set of medals in your sport. You won the Olympic medal, you got the World Championship medal, World Cup final gold, you won World Cups, you won Asian Games medals, you won the Commonwealth Games gold as well multiple times. What does a
The
break
world
like this
record
do
is
for
world
you?
number one as well.
Yes. So what does a
Uh,
break like this do for you?
well, the reason why I took a break even before the situation arose was because of taking care of my parents and their health. So I've been thinking also, like many other shooters, as to what we must do and whether we should start again or not. So yeah, I mean, let's see. I've just started cleaning my gun. Who knows that I might, after this interview, just stand on, do some try fire on the scat or something. But we'll figure out when the time comes. Right now, I think it's too premature to think about something.
Okay, but fair enough. Like, they say that 10-meter rifle is a young man's game, but you also have your other event, which you've represented India all through these years, which is the 3-position rifle. That's something which, you're still pretty young comparative to the rest of those European shooters in this event. There is still scope to adding to that Olympic tally, isn't it? Come on, Gagan, you know it yourself.
Well, like I said, it's too premature to say anything on that right now. And I think the event in itself, yes, has a little more shelf life than the 10-meter air rifle event. But last I trained air rifle also, I was shooting pretty decent. So from that perspective, I think score-wise or technique-wise, I'm still not aged as much as you think. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that, when you have different tasks at hand and priorities are different, I wouldn't want to just go out there and shoot to just participate. I mean, if I'm not able to give 100% to the sport, if I'm not enjoying the sport, I wouldn't do it. So just hoping that, the situation gets better and it gets the better of me and just gets me back to the sport. Yeah, I mean, time will tell.
Okay, a lot of your fellow contemporaries, especially your time of shooting when you were at the beginning of your career, and all of you all sort of came through this together, were Gagan Narang, there was Abhinav Bindra, there was Manavjeet Sandhu. But both of these champions have told me that it's the wiser and more experienced shooters will learn to negotiate this bump in the road. So Gagan, start cleaning that rifle the moment this interview gets over. Start getting back into some kind of nick, because as you said, you have been shooting well. Perhaps it's time to refocus and reinvent yourself and give these young guns a run for their money, because experience is something which cannot be replaced. Thank you so much for this interaction, Gagan. Nice to see you, bright and cheerful, and continue to cook up some good dishes. Hopefully when you're in Delhi next or I'm in Hyderabad next, I'll come over and we'll see what Gagan Narang can cook.
Thank you, Digvijay. Pleasure talking to you as always.